I've had people tell me many times that this species or that species is very hard to work with. If you looked at the barber chair video, it was a straight grain hardwood. I believe it was a hickory. Chris, he had talked to the guy that cut the tree. He had some obstacles that he wanted to make sure it didn't hit. They had a line into the tree. They had a long face notch coming in. It was 70 degrees or more. It didn't go back into the stump very far because it wasn't necessary. I don't think it had a lot of side weight. Then he said, well, I've got these obstacles here. I think I want to leave the hinge a little bit thicker. He bore cut through the tree. He came up, set up what he thought was a good hinge, and he was leaving a little bit extra so that he had some hopefully protection against it going awry. Then he cut back, and as he cut back, he had somebody on the rope applying probably a little bit of pressure. Too thick of a hinge, forward lean, or maybe applying a little bit of pressure on the rope, it caused the barber chair. Back cut should have been higher. That wouldn't help. It has to break the hinge from the back to the front. It doesn't all snap at one time. Fiber starts pulling from the back to the front. You're going to have a little bit higher pulled fiber on the back side of the hinge than you're holding wood that you would on the front side. Having the plan, then coming back, reevaluate it, and see what worked and what didn't. So many people have a plan and it doesn't go right, or maybe it goes right. People argue, everybody's got kind of an idea, but nobody really had the whole picture because I watched it, I knew part of the story. I put the questions up there trying to get people to think through, why they would do this or why they would do that. That was the whole concept of that video, to get people to talk about their experience, look at it and try to evaluate. Basically, all of those things could come into play. Experience was not a thing of he was new operator. That plan didn't work exactly right. He learned that even though, he thought he was going to need more hinge, he really didn't, because he stood a higher chance of losing the tree and hitting an obstacle by leaving the hinge too thick. You have people that look at it and say, well, I would stay there with it and take that hinge off. As straight a grain of tree as that was, and you saw how high it barber chaired, if you would have been in there too close, it could have been a pretty hair-raising experience right there, and somebody could get hurt. So he was fortunate that he understood a bore cut, set the hinge up before the tree actually was allowed to move or pulled to move. A lot of people had different comments about the comments, looking at what they would have done, and then felt like there was a lot of people who didn't understand that tree very well. And I'm going to be honest with you. Unless you had the story behind that tree, there's not a whole lot you could tell, because you got to think through. You can't see the face notch very well, although if you blow the picture up, you can see exactly that he did have a face notch. His back cut was nice and level to the apex of the notch, so that wasn't an issue. But definitely the hinge didn't bend. It wasn't flexible at all. It didn't start to break from the back to the front before the tree had enough movement to separate the fibers and barber chair. So that's kind of the process there.